What is up, my fellow gamers? In today's video, we got our tier list for the position shooting guard. Looking up for more amazing gaming content. Down below in the description box or in the comment section, I'll have a link to the point guard tier list in case you missed that. We are doing all of the individual positions. We're having tier lists for each one as requested by the lovely viewers. So let's go. First one we got is Devin Booker. Good for shooting, really mean mid-range. Rank 1, we got a 750 mid-range. Very good shooter. Overall, pretty obvious for a lot of the legendaries. We're gonna be putting them in the S tier. So I don't think there's any kind of confusion there. Next one we got is Paul George. Now, even with the nerf, I know this one has been up and down. There's a lot of people who are still saying he's super duper broken even with the nerf, and then there's other people who are saying, oh, he's god awful now. Everyone's got their own speculations. I'm still using Paul George. He's still like my main. I haven't sold any of my copies of him. I still have him at a rank 6. Still gonna try and max him out. This is, I'm trying to make him a rank 7. I have noticed that it is a lot easier for him to get screened. Before, you were like really able to just kind of avoid those picks, and you can just kind of constantly be on your defender. But now he does get like screened, like perfect screened on a lot easier, which can lead to wide open jump shots for their point guard or shooting guard. But other than that, I think he's still an S tier for me. So I'm going ahead, I'm putting him at the top. Next one we got is Jrue Holiday. He got a slight buff, but I think specifically is that with the Paul George nerf, I think Jrue Holiday has really like stepped up as being a top tier, for me, S tier shooting guard that I honestly highly recommend. And he's a lot cheaper than Paul George either, so it's going to be easier to max him out. And he does close to the same thing. Stat wise, he's got good shooting, and he's got really good defense. He's going to be stealing the ball. He's not like skill wise, and moves are going to be slightly different, but I mean, it's a huge difference in price for the market. So that alone makes me say, I highly recommend, if you're looking for a really good shooting guard that isn't super expensive and you can kind of still be very competitive with in those higher ranks, highly recommend Jrue Holiday. We're gonna go ahead, we're putting him in the S. Next one we got is Donovan Mitchell. Now this one is good, but definitely not an S for me. Mostly focuses mainly on his driving and dunking ability. His shooting for 3-point and mid-range is what I consider average. I did a whole thing where I went over like the stats and stuff, and in that 500 mark stat, that's like average stat where you're gonna make the shots kind of half the time when you're wide open, but you're gonna miss a lot of wide open shots when your numbers are only in that like average looking spot. So for him, I think he's still good. I'm gonna put him in the A, but I would definitely say that there's gonna be some better A's than him. He's like an A- for me. I actually had a bunch of copies of him early on when I first started playing the game. I just didn't like his play style either, so I ended up selling all of my Donovan Mitchells. Next one we got is Marcus Smart. Now he's like a super duper budget version of like Jrue Holiday and Paul George, like super cheap. But he's not as good, and you're gonna notice that. For Marcus Smart, we're going ahead and I am putting him in the B. I think he can be a very good option for new players who want like a decent shooting guard who's good defensively and has like some okay shooting. 3-point shooting specifically, his mid-range is really bad, considerably below average is what I would say. But for early ranks as a new player, you can definitely use Marcus Smart, max him out as a rank 7, a lot easier than some of these other ones. Next one we got is Mr. Green. He's another one that I think is actually a pretty solid pick for a blue rare, and but also he brings like dunking to the table, right? So you can hit a pull-up, but you also have some driving. You can drive and dunk on people. We're gonna go ahead, I'm putting him in the B. Defensively though, you're not going to get really any type of value from him. Next one we got is James Harden. Honestly, legendary. We don't really have to say much about this. For all the shooting guards, he's easily an S because he can outscore all of the other shooting guards. Specifically, his step back shuffle, he basically does a double step back. Super hard to guard offensively, but going in comparison to other players. Real big liability on defense, but his offense makes up for that over all of the other shooting guards currently in the game. Once we get some new shooting guards, we'll have to revisit this tier list. Next one we got is Klay Thompson. Now he is one that a lot of people didn't like in the beta. Specifically, they said that he shot a lot of bricks, and that's mostly because his shooting is in a weird balance. His three-point shooting is really, really good, 725 at a rank 1, but his mid-range is, you know, it's average, very, very average, getting close to the below average state. So really for him, I mean, unless you're shooting threes, you're not going to see very much success with him, and he doesn't really have anything else to offer. I'm putting him in like a B+, A- for me, because he's a live and die by the three-pointer, and that's all he brings to the table. Next one we got is Jaylen Brown. He's got a really cool exclusive skill. Also his humble pie dominance, his driving ability becomes more easily to make the defender stumble. You're gonna be doing a lot of like dunking and stuff with him driving, but he also has a mean mid-range, 703, really, really good mid-range. And then he also has that three-point shooting, which is average, but the best part about this is, like, you know, you can drive, and then if they have a big shot blocker and maybe you're afraid to drive and get your shot blocked, you can just drive by and get into that mid-range area and do a nice pull-up J, hit a mid-range shot, which at a 703 rank 1 stat, it's pretty good. Most of the time you're gonna hit a wide open mid-ranger, so A for me. I would put him better than Donovan Mitchell. Then we got Hardaway Jr. Now I know a lot of people are on there's some specific people who are on like the bandwagon for Hardaway Jr. because of his crossover clinic, makes people's ankles broken left and right. Really mean crossover, has that ability to put him in that dizzy state, ankle breaker state. So he's good, I think, for the lower ranks, for new players to experiment. He's constantly like bought off the market too, because a lot of people are kind of catching on that, you know, he's a really cheap player that's a decent shooting guard that you can max out fairly fast. Like a B for me, not quite as good as Klay Thompson, but I'm sure there's people out there who would probably even argue and say he's better than an epic Klay Thompson, right? Shooting wise, his three-pointer is definitely not as good as Klay Thompson's, but he definitely has a better mid-range. But the fact that you can constantly just easily lose your defender is what makes him so good. And then we kind of move on to the last ones, and these are all of our C's. So we're just going to put these at the bottom. They're all really weak, these bottom three. Really, you know, I don't want to waste time talking about them. They're just not that great. Typically, I would recommend sticking with those S's and those A's, with occasionally the B's can perform well to a certain extent when it comes to rank gameplay. All right, my friends, there it is. That is the official tier list I have made for the shooting guards in NBA Infinite. Hope you guys and girls enjoyed the video. Stay happy, stay safe. The next one we're gonna do is the small forwards, so make sure you're subscribed because you don't want to miss that. Peace!